hey, how to quote and cite evidence in your essay. You might already know how to do this. Here's a sample essay from, I don't know, a couple years ago. Scroll down here, let's find where she quotes somebody. Here she quotes somebody. I don't love this because this quote right here wasn't set up properly. She says here, blah, 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 and then all of a sudden there's just a quote. I wish that she had set up the quote by saying, by putting a comma here instead. And so that right now the quote's just hanging in midair. Your quote should be somehow a part of your sentence. Other than that, however, a pretty good job citing the evidence. You have quotation marks around your quote. After the quote, I want you to put in parentheses the name of the author, the last name of the author. If there's multiple authors, just the first author's last name, and put that in parentheses. The period, listen, the period does not go here. The period goes here, okay? Let me see if I have another example where she does it better. Yes, this is perfect. As Reggio puts it, set up the quote with a colon, quotation marks, perfect, end quotation mark. There's a space here. Then there's a parenthesis, last name, parenthesis, period. Do it just like that, okay? Look at that. Make it exactly the same. No period there. Yes period here. Awesome. Now listen, if your quote is longer than 3 lines, you may make it a block quote. Let me show you what that looks like. This is a block quote. Block quotes are crazy weird. I did not invent this rule. If your quote is longer than 3 lines, you have to use special formatting. There are no quotation marks. There's a quote here because there's a quote in the quote. Ignore that quote. No quotation marks in a block quote. Instead, use the formatting like this. The block quote is tabbed over once, twice. The whole block quote is flush in line here. At the end of the block quote, no quotation marks. At the end of the block quote, put the author's last name in parentheses. Then the paragraph continues. Do not start a new quote after a block quote because you need to explain the evidence. And if you start a new paragraph after you cite evidence, I'll get mad at you for not explaining the evidence. So look what this author did. The paragraph continues. You don't need quotation marks because this formatting tells me it's a quote. You only do this for quotes longer than 3 lines. Again, the takeaway here is no quotation marks. The quote is tabbed over twice and the author's last name in parentheses there. That is how you format a block quote for a quote that's longer than 2 lines. And this is how you do a quote for a quote that's shorter than 2 lines. Cool.